It is fantasy football season, and trying to decide how to approach your draft, it can be a massive headache. In this series, I'm going draft slot by draft slot, talking over what you can expect to see from your draft position, what strategies you can use, which players you might want to take, and which players you might want to avoid. We'll touch on the sleepers available later on, and we'll even run through a super quick mock draft so you can see exactly how I would draft from each position. In this video, we're drafting from the 103, and these are the players that you can expect to see there. Christian McCaffrey, still the 101 consensus despite the calf injury. The case for CMC's upside, it's so straightforward with him averaging 24 PPR points last year. That's a year after finishing as the RB2 with 21 points per game. Ever since CMC was traded to the Niners, he's averaged 4.5 receptions per game and 16.5 rush attempts per game. But it's hard to ignore that CMC has stayed remarkably healthy since that trade, until now where he's missing a couple of weeks with a calf strain. That's the type of lower body injury that's plagued CMC at times throughout his career. And you have to decide whether you're willing to take a player dealing with an injury already, or whether you're just willing to bet on a player who is a known difference maker. CeeDee Lamb. The Cowboys, they were so poor to start the 2023 season, but then everything changed at the bye week in week 7. Lamb had been the PPR wide receiver 24 before that point, scoring 14.9 points per game. And then after the bye week, he completely dominated across the back half of the season. Lamb averaged 28 points per game the rest of the way, 6.9 more than the next closest wide receiver. Lamb, he was a certified league winner. And the Cowboys, they've done nothing to reinforce this wide receiver room this offseason. Lamb can absolutely dominate target share again. Tyreek Hill absolutely dominated with 9 top 5 weekly finishes in PPR leagues last year. But then he ended the year with 3 bad finishes that ranked him as the wide receiver 36, the wide receiver 16, and wide receiver 28. That absolutely crushed you if you were a fantasy manager with Tyreek Hill on your team. But this Miami team, they dominated on the ground in 2023. Raheem Mostert's 19 touchdowns. It doesn't seem likely to repeat. The Miami defense has also definitely taken a step back in terms of quality, so the offense should be pushed more into more pass-heavy game scripts, and that's great news for Tyreek Hill. At the 103, things start to open up a bit more, but there's a couple of players that I cannot bring myself to pick. Justin Jefferson. Despite only playing 10 games in 2023, Justin Jefferson still managed to put up 1,000 yards, but it felt like a disappointing season for him because he was the consensus 101 in most fantasy formats. Yes, he put up numbers with Josh Dobbs and a bunch of other random quarterbacks, but the Vikings QB situation could be bad again with Sam Darnold set to be the quarterback this year. When was the last time that Sam Darnold looked good? You've really got to scrape a barrel to come up with a convincing argument for him. And with TJ Hawkinson missing time, Jordan Addison potentially getting suspended at some point, defenses will really be at a key in on Justin Jefferson. Bijan Robinson and Breece Hall. If CMC is off the board, it could be tempting to consider one of the other running backs in round 1. You know, you've got Bijan Robinson and Breece Hall staring you down. But this is too early for me. Hall and Robinson, they both look to benefit massively from improved quarterback play in 2024. But that's not saying much. Still, the difference between their production compared to the elite wide receivers, it's worth considering. Like, Bijan Robinson averaged 13.8 PPR points per game in 2023. Tyler Algier is still hanging around. Meanwhile, Breece Hall averaged 16.3 points. But the Jets just drafted 2 other running backs in Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. Braylon Allen is tearing it up in preseason. You can make the argument that one of these running backs could have a truly legendary season. Maybe even both of them. But the wide receivers in this range, they've given us better and bigger samples across their career, and I'm just leaning into what we've seen more of. We're going to use Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard to mock draft. It is insanely customizable. You can sync it to your leagues and automatically copy the settings in. Then it'll adjust the rankings for that. You can choose which expert rankings and insights you'd like to see, including mine, which are part of the expert consensus rankings of over 100 people from across the fantasy football industry. There's no waiting around for other people. Nobody taking 6 kickers in the mock draft. Instead, we can mock draft against the Wizard, get feedback from top experts on our drafts. Check out the link in the description below to start your own mock drafts right now. If you are finding our videos for the first time, do me a solid and hit that subscribe button down below. We are ever so close to 3,000 subscribers. Here we do Dynasty, we do Best Ball, we do Redraft, we do DFS. We get you cooking all year long. In this draft, we are picking up the 103. We've got ourselves set for the 2024 season, half PPR, one quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, one tight end, one flex position, 6 bench spots, a kicker, and a defense. Picking out of the 103, it's Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill going off the board first. We'll take CeeDee Lamb. That feels like a smash pick to me. I have him ranked second overall in my rankings. Chris Olave makes it back to us. Double tapping the wide receiver position. Off to a really strong start here. We don't want to get left behind at other positions, but right now, keep taking the value. Josh Allen, we now have possibly the wide receiver 1 overall and the QB 1 overall. Running back, they're really starting to go. We're down to this tier already. I prefer James Conner to Alvin Kamara, so let's get him there. Double tap a position and take Ramondre Stevenson, who looks primed for a bounce back season. And now through 5 rounds, we have CeeDee Lamb, Chris Olave, Josh Allen, James Conner, Ramondre Stevenson. The top 2 values are Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud, but we can't be taking another quarterback this early. Instead, let's take Terry McLaurin, who finally has a good quarterback, or at least we hope. Then we'll take Rashee Rice, who looks set to avoid a suspension. At the 8-10, let's take George Kittle. He might be a particularly volatile player and might be difficult to roster, but those boom weeks are absolutely worth it. At the 9:03, let's live a little and see what it looks like when we take Jaden Daniels. If we've got Josh Allen, we really need Josh Allen to be good, but we could be locking up 2 of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the league with Jaden Daniels and Josh Allen. At running back, we'd take J.K. Dobbins, who the Chargers really seem to want to take hold of that running back room. We'll add another running back straight after in Marshawn Lloyd, who is currently injured, dealing with a hamstring issue. But if we get some early season production out of J.K. Dobbins, then it'll allow Marshawn Lloyd to sit on our bench a little bit longer and we can work out what we have in him. The wide receiver position, it gets pretty ugly pretty quick. Let's take Dontavian Wicks, though, who has some real upside. The Packers seem to really like him. He's our wide receiver 5, and that feels like the time to take a shot on some upside, take a shot on someone who could be really fun. The tight ends don't feel great in this range, but let's add Dalton Schultz, who can give us a little bit of a security blanket with George Kittle being so volatile. When things come back to us, there's been an absolute monster run on defense. We need a defense. We need a kicker. Let's take Harrison Butker, the Chiefs kicker, the most well-paid kicker in the NFL, and round out this draft. The consensus grade gives us a 93 out of 100. Not perfect, but pretty good. The mock draft wizard gives us all the analysis we need. Sleeper alert, J.K. Dobbins is the number 3 RB in our consensus sleeper rankings. Dontavian Wicks is the number 3 wide receiver in our consensus sleeper rankings. That is fun. Let's go over the expert opinions. Plenty of thumbs up from Daniel Mader for Chris Olave, Terry McLaurin, Ramondre Stevenson. Thumbs down. Few players who didn't like CeeDee Lamb going that high. We can live with it. I feel conviction when it comes to CeeDee Lamb. What would you have done differently from 103? Let me know in the comments. We answer every single comment and question on this channel. Hit the subscribe button. Go and check out this video from Rich where he talked about must draft rookie running backs when it comes to both redraft and best ball this season.